Out of Order Gun Rights Podcast, Episode 31.
Welcome to the Out of Order Podcast, your window into the firearms community, exploring those shaping the future of our rights and protecting our lifestyle, laws, legal cases, activism, and self-defense in a candid and honest podcast for our brothers and sisters in arms. Here's your host, James Kalita.
Hey, Out of Order, James Kalita here. Thanks for tuning in to episode 31. We have three sponsors to talk to you about today: Liberty Maniacs, Audible, and Amazon. So Liberty Maniacs is a design and merchandise company that celebrates freedom and has a little bit of fun with those that oppose it. You can get my favorite shirt from them, the NSA shirt, the only agency of government that listens. They were sued by the NSA and Liberty Maniacs won, so you can still grab that shirt. They also have some clever Don't Tread on Me shirts. They have the Sitting Bull, Trust the Government, Thomas Jefferson Dangerous Freedom shirt, and lots of Pro 2A shirts and merchandise. Audible, we have an affiliate relationship with Audible. If you sign up through our link on the show notes page, you get 2 books free, and if you're like me, you're in the car all the time looking for things to listen to. If you run out of Order episodes, you can get More Guns, Less Crime by John Lott. You can get The Gift of Fear, Monster Hunter International, and by the way, if anyone knows the author of that book, I'd love to have him on as a guest. You can also find other great gun and liberty books on there, like The Politically Incorrect Guide to American History, and Ian Rand's books, and Amazon. So if you use any of the Amazon search links on the show notes pages, anything you purchase that day helps out the show. And of course, if you've adopted minimalism and denounced all material things and you still want to help out the show, you can follow the link on the show notes page to Patreon and make either a one-time or monthly donation to help us keep or help cover the cost of editing and hosting. All right, now I'm going to be away next week. I still have great episodes coming up for you. Monday, we have, of course, today's Monday. You're going to listen to Richard Smith. Tomorrow we have my appearance on the Polite Society podcast. I'm going to share that with you. Wednesday we have Tony Rockamora, New Jersey libertarian, gun owner, and host of the Don't Waste Your Hate podcast. Thursday I was a guest on the Eye of Target radio show, and I'm going to share that episode with you. And then Friday we have Dick Clark from SilencerLawyer.com. And then, of course, I will be back following week with some more great episodes for you. And today's guest is Richard Smith. He is a brand ambassador for ShotKam and a firearms trainer at the Firearms Training Academy. And now, here's Richard.
Richard Smith, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me. Appreciate being here.
Oh, my pleasure. So, Rich, you came to talk to us today about a new product called ShotKam. Would you tell us a bit about it?
Sure. So, ShotKam is a product that has been out in the market for 6 years, developed for sporting shotgun. And in the sporting shotgun world, it's become a mainstay product. It's a rail-mounted camera, or in the sporting shotgun world, it mounts actually onto the barrel, and it records your shooting. So we've developed a new product for handgun, rifle, and for tack shotgun that is rail-mounted. It's a different housing for the camera, and it's a lot of high technology packed into a small package. It's got 1080p high-definition camera, an accelerometer, and a gyroscope. It also has its own self-contained Wi-Fi. So you purchase the camera, you download the free app that we have for Android or Apple, and then you sync up the camera with the app, and that allows you to see a reticle on your phone, which you then have to zero in with your sights, which all can be done in about 30 seconds. Once you have the camera zeroed in, you just start shooting like you normally would, and then we can then review the video when you're done shooting, and it'll show you where your sights are, what happens. You can slow it down, you can go frame by frame and see the movement their natural arc of movement, see where your sights are. A lot of people who have issues with shooting or accuracy or hitting the target, this actually slows everything down so you can see what's going on. Because when you shoot a gun, it happens so quickly. A lot of times it's hard to pick up.
Yeah, it sounds like it kind of gives you an idea of what mistakes you're making. You can see if you're not following a straight line, if you're moving as you pull the trigger, if you're flinching as you pull the trigger. You get to see all of that. Yeah.
Yeah. So this is kind of designed for instructors to work with students. And it's also good if you're an intermediate or above level shooter, you can use it for self-diagnosis and correction. One of the best lines I've heard about ShotKam came from a trainer called John Farnham. And John Farnham is a big believer in the ShotKam. And he said that working with new shooters is kind of like counseling alcoholics. The alcoholic is the last one who knows he has a problem, and so is the new shooter. And they'll swear to you that it's the gun is off, the sights are off, my sights were on target, and the ShotKam forces them to look in the mirror and see what they're doing. And so that's a really good analogy. The technology involved in this ShotKam, with its accelerometer, when you put it down, it goes to sleep. When you pick it up, it wakes up, and it instantly starts recording when you start shooting because it records on a loop. So it'll record 2 seconds before your first shot and a couple of seconds after your first shot. And if you take another shot within 8 seconds, it's a continuous video. And you can download this video to your laptop, you can put it on Facebook, you can email it to people, and you can work on your accuracy. It works really good for rifles, out to about 70 yards, tack shotguns as well. Even works on a bow. So if you do any bow hunting or any archery, this works for that too. So what we're seeing in the industry is a lot of technology. There's the Mantis X out there, but we're seeing technology catch up to the gun world. And this is just the latest iteration in that.
Yeah. So where the Mantis X gives you that graph, this actually gives you video, so you could see what your gun saw as you were shooting.
Right. The Mantis X is a great tool. It's a little bit of a steeper of a learning curve, and it gives you the graphs and charts and that sort of thing, where this gives you instant visual feedback, which is different than the graphs, and it's really kind of simple to see what where the reticle is before you shoot and then during the shot. And you can, with this ShotKam, you can take a shot like every 100 frames per second, and I can even adjust it to go up to 160 frames per second. So I could film a 9mm bullet going away from me every 3 feet and get a snapshot of it.
Wow. So I had seen a similar, I don't know how similar, but a handgun-mounted camera marketed for self-defense applications. Could this be used that way as well, where you're, in a deadly force encounter, you're filming your aggressor?
It absolutely could be used for that. You can go into the app and adjust the settings. You can change the reticles from a red dot to a crosshairs, or remove the reticle so there's not one on the screen at all, for fun videos or for recording a defensive shooting. It wasn't developed for that purpose, but it could actually be used for that purpose very well. And we went to the ILETA conference this year. And that was one of the questions a lot of the law enforcement that were there. ILETA is the International Law Enforcement Educators and Trainers Association, and it was in St. Louis. And a lot of people were interested in that use, because a lot of times with the body cam, when you punch out with a gun, you're obscuring the camera's view. But this is on the end of the gun, so it's right underneath the muzzle. and it gives you that view. So there is some interest there, and we'll see what happens with development of our next generation camera.
Okay, great. And so where do people go to find these things?
Well, you can go to ShotKam, ShotKam.com.
Oh, okay.
They're available on the website. You get the ShotKam mailed out to you, and it comes with some spare parts and screws and a nice cleaning cloth, and it comes in a hardy standard case, carrying case. And with it, we include shipping through FedEx, so you get it relatively quickly. And we also have some guarantees with it. It's guaranteed for a year. If anything happens, send it back to us. Later on down the line, when Generation 2 comes up, if you want to upgrade, you can send us your old ShotKam, and we'll give you a $200 credit towards the new ShotKam.
Okay, great. Oh, all right, excellent. So you also run a training school, Firearms Training Academy. Would you tell us about that?
Sure. I run a small training school in the South Florida area called the Firearms Training Academy. We're a state licensed school, and we teach everything from security and armed security classes to NRA instructor certification courses, defensive gun courses, private classes. We do some coaching and instructing for law enforcement, military security, private investigators, pretty much anybody who wants to improve their skills with a gun. And for the past 8 months or so, I was doing a lot of beta testing with my coaching students and the ShotKam. And we'll put the ShotKam on their gun, and we'll do a range session, and then we can review the video and see different things that they're doing, and then how do we fix it, how do we remediate the shooter. And it's been very effective in that role, working with my students. So I enjoy teaching about firearms. It's a full-time profession for me, and we teach all sorts of classes. I have over 40 different classes on our menu. American Heart Association, BLS, and First Aid CPR, AED courses, gunshot wound treatment courses. There's a bunch of different courses that we teach, gun retention and disarming and that sort of stuff. And it keeps me busy. Keeps me busy as a full-time trainer in South Florida.
Oh, great. And so how did you get into this industry? How did you come to love firearms?
Well, it started out right out of high school. My first job out of high school was working security, because at the time it was a really good job to have while I worked my way through college. And I was able to bring a portable typewriter to the post and type my papers and do my research and stuff like that. So started with security, then we started in with armed security, and I've basically been doing armed security and private investigation type work for over 30 years on and off. But that led into more of a passion with the firearms, because I realized that I couldn't shoot. So I needed to be better as a shot. And I started taking classes and started getting involved, and then, next thing you know, I was hooked. So I became an instructor, and that was a path, not a destination. And I'm still on that path. To this day, I still do about 150 hours a year in other people's classes as a student. And it's a love, it's a passion. There is no perfection in shooting, and so we always strive to improve our skills and learn different things and different tactics. And like I tell all my students, this is a love, it's an avocation, and we need to continually take classes and learn and improve. And that's how we get better at the craft of teaching firearms and becoming better shooters and defensive-minded people as well.
Excellent. And so you mentioned that you're down in Florida, and you guys had some new gun control laws go through down there. Could you tell us a little about that?
Sure. Well, not really too sure about the new laws. They did pass some laws that went into effect. The NRA is suing. We'll see if they get an injunction. We'll see what happens with the lawsuit. So we'll see what happens with it when the dust settles. But it was in reaction to Parkland. So in Parkland's actually 20 minutes north of me. And it's, I'm in the same county, in Broward County. And we got a lot of attention because of Parkland. And the lessons we learned from Parkland were more about the failure of local law enforcement and the failure of the FBI than anything else. Yet there's these loud proponents who claim that restricting legal gun owners is the answer. And we have a lame duck governor who's announced that he wants to run for Senate, and now he wants to appear a little more centrist. Now, interestingly enough, before this happened, the governor we have, Rick Scott, has signed more pro-gun legislation than all other Florida governors combined. So he did really good by us, and then he kind of moved more to the center or more towards the left, if you will, in hopes of garnering more support for his Senate run.
Yeah, I don't think that's going to work out too well for him because, he just lost the whole right side. Wow.
Well, I'll tell you this. Mm-hmm. It may not have worked out too well for him, but if my choice is him or Bill Nelson, which is what it's looking like, who do we choose?
Right. Yeah. That's always a tough call. I remember, trying to choose between Obama and Romney and thinking, I really don't want Romney, but I definitely don't want Obama. So
right.
Yeah.
So they've attacked bump fire stocks is what they tried to do, but the legislation was not worded effectively, and I don't think this is over yet. I don't think the law is going to be settled yet. Let's see what happens after this lawsuit, and we'll see where the dust settles.
Sure. So what advice would you have for new people coming into this? They haven't picked up a firearm before. They're thinking about getting a firearm for protection. What would you say?
So what I would say, and what I teach about in my classes, and we're going to pretend that you're a student, so you're coming in, and I would say to you, if I told you tomorrow to go out and buy an airplane, and you actually went out tomorrow and you bought an airplane, what would that make you?
An airplane owner.
Correct. An airplane owner does not equal pilot, does it?
No. Nope.
And if you wanted to become a pilot, would you be able to do it in one quick and easy lesson?
Probably not.
No. Would 3 lessons be enough?
Probably not.
No. So you've got to take several lessons, and in between those lessons, there's that dirty word. You know what that dirty word is?
Practice.
That's it. That's exactly it. So that's what it takes. If you want to become a pilot, you've got to do the training, do the classes, do the practice, get the hours in, etc. If I told you tomorrow, go out and buy a piano, what would that make you?
A piano owner.
Right. And would 1 lesson turn you into a pianist ready for Carnegie Hall?
No, it would not.
Would 10 lessons turn you into that pianist?
No, it would not.
Okay. So it's the same with a gun. I could teach you a 3-day course just on the legalities of use of force, of use of deadly force, statutory law, constitutional law, case law, and we could go into examples, and that would be 3 solid days, 24 hours of training, and that we haven't even touched a gun, much less shot a gun.
Yeah.
And it's really important to understand the legalities of using a gun. Do you happen to live in a gated community?
Nope.
No. So if I offered you a spot in a gated community with really good security, would that be attractive to you?
Depends on how hard it was to get out, but possibly.
Possibly. So if I were to throw in free rent, free healthcare, and free food, would that sweeten the pot enough for you?
Well, it sounds like you're describing a prison.
Exactly. That's what we call prison. And when you make a mistake with a gun, they tend to be big mistakes where your outcome will be prison or death. So we want to be very, very careful about not making mistakes, especially legal mistakes, knowing when we can use a gun, knowing what the rules of engagement for a citizen are, so we can stay out of that gated community and not hurt ourselves or somebody else.
Yeah. And so
these are the analogies I use with new shooters to help them understand the importance of ongoing training. There's going to be a lot that you have to learn. And we haven't even begun talking about shooting, marksmanship, accuracy. You know, I subscribe to the theory of aim small, miss small. And I want my shooters to shoot relatively small targets and get good groups. And then we start working on distances. And I want them to maintain good accuracy. And only after they've accomplished that can we start talking about movement and other things. If you can't hit the target and group well, movement is not going to help you hit the target and move well. Movement will actually make it even harder. So I don't do a lot of the tactical classes where we run around the range and, you know, wear full kit and look like we're, you know, practicing for the Army. That's not what I do. We work on marksmanship and what's important to the citizen and what their rules of engagement are. And then how they have to respond, how they have to carry a gun. So here in Florida, you have to carry a gun concealed. So how does the gun fit your hand? And once we establish the fit and that you have a gun that actually fits your hand, because that's highly important, then that'll dictate what gun you're going to buy, which then dictates what kind of holster you're going to use or purchase or try out. And the holster selection process can take a little bit.
Right. Yeah.
And you might go through several holsters. But then you're going to be able to carry effectively. And then how do we get the gun out? How do we access and draw that gun and be efficient about our motions and get that gun on target and get shots on target only as fast as you can guarantee hits on target. So it's a process.
Yeah. It sounds like you have a very comprehensive curriculum there.
Well, it's taken years of development and training with, you know, the top trainers in the industry and the best schools in the nation, and, you know, putting a lot of learning under my belt so that I could come up with this. And, you know, I feel we teach a very effective program so that people can be efficient with their guns, be safe with their guns, know the laws, and can hit the target. In a self-defense encounter, more accuracy is desirable. Less accuracy can get you in trouble.
Right. Yeah. A lot of trouble. Yeah. So I've been asking all of my guests if there are books that you recommend that every gun owner should read, either about guns or liberty or self-defense. Or
Sure. I have 400 volumes in my library.
Oh, wow. All right.
I'm a big reader. Like right now, I'm currently finishing up a book by Ed Morales called FBI Miami Firefight. And I've already got books lined up to read after that one. But some good books to recommend. Fighting Smarter by Tom Givens is a good book. Law of Self-Defense by Andrew Branca. Deadly Force by Massad Ayoob is another good book. One of my all-time favorites is called The Gift of Fear by Gavin DeBecker. Great book. More Guns, Less Crime by my friend Dr. John Lott. Handgun Combatives by Dave Spalding. and pretty much anything that John Farnham has written. And I could go on and talk about all sorts of other books, but that gives you a good handful.
Yeah, yep. It sure does. Great. And Rich, where should people look for you online?
Well, you can find me at my Facebook page, which would be facebook.com/the Firearms Training Academy, which is also my Instagram, which would be IG, the Firearms Training Academy. My personal website is FTA Guns, Foxtrot Tango Alpha Guns.com. And you can look at ShotKam.com and check out the ShotKam, which, I got involved with that because the mad scientist inventor of that, Mr. David Stewart, is one of my students who came to learn about handgun. So that's how I got involved with that.
Excellent. Great. Well, Richard, I thank you so much for being on the show. Any parting words for our listeners?
Yes. Try to learn as much as you can. Try to read as much as you can, and be safe.
Great. Well, I thank you very much for being on the show and look forward to talking to you soon.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for tuning in to episode 31 of the Out of Order Gun Rights podcast. Wanted to remind you guys about Christopher Smith and the Poor Man's Black Rifle. Mission of Poor Man's Black Rifle is that every American legally and mentally able to own a firearm can have the tools they need to defend their life, their liberty, their family, their country, without regard to their income. And you can head over to poormansblackrifle.com, find links to their Facebook page, and head over to the show notes page, outoforderjameskalita.com /31, and find links to our sponsors, links to Richard Smith's pages, and we'll see you next time.